What is up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Camera Junkie livestream. My name is Luis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Please be sure to introduce yourself in the chat so you can get the nice Camera Junkie crew welcome. Now, the tradition goes that the first thing that we do is go ahead and check out to see who are the first members in chat. Which members of the Camera Junkie crew who are hanging out in the chat. Now, I'm gonna ask you guys something right now. I got a message from Paul saying that we couldn't hear music, even though Ecamm is showing it. So give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you are hearing music. Just let me know right there in the chat. So while I'm waiting for you guys to do that, I'm gonna do a little bit of house cleaning, right? A little bit of announcements. First things is the dock pops. I said this last week that this is the final day of the pre-sale. Well, I checked today and it's still there. So if you haven't gotten your hands on the dock pops on the pre-order sale, then I would say probably this might be your last chance, because I'm also going to send him a message that he needs to change the prices because you can still get them at the discounted rate right now. So if you haven't done so, go ahead. This is the time to do it, because I'm going to make sure that he knows as well. I'm getting a message. Paul says we're hearing things now. I'm seeing thumbs up in the chat. Thank you all as always. All right. And then, as always, if you're wondering how is it that I'm bringing chats and making all these scenes and doing everything with my live stream, this is the program that I use, Ecamm. I kind of know the guy on the website right there. And if you can just use the QR code, or you can use the link mrcamerajunkie.live/Ecamm, and it'll just send you directly there. And it does help out me and the channel if you use my link. So there you go, a little bit of information to start things off. And now we're right here to the chat screen to see exactly which are the first members of the crew to be in the house. We have Mr. Paul Duncan. How are you doing, sir? And you see Paul, master moderator, he is the masterest of moderators, to the point where he sent me a message even before I got to go live to let me know that we were having maybe a discrepancy with the music, which he knows that that's something that I love to do with my live stream. So we're hearing the music, but just to let you know, he's even that attentive to let me know if something's not correct even before the live actually goes live. All right. Right after him, we got Sammy Superstar in the house saying hey to everyone. How are you doing? Thank you for taking the time. We got Mr. Jeremy Hubble in the house saying sup, y'all. How are you doing? Ernesto in the house, my favorite tech. Hola Luis, hermano, brother, how are you on this Saturday? Listening on the road as I'm visiting my daughter in college. Cool. Well, thank you as always for taking the time and hanging out here. We got Parker Jennings as well saying hello to everyone. Right after Parker, we have Yolanda saying hello to everyone just the same. And now I'm starting to see the comments of the thumbs up with the music, that everything seems to be going good. All right. With that being said, today I'm a bit excited because this guy right here, Mr. Jeremy Hubble, I'll put him on the screen as well, giving the thumbs up. He sent me a message earlier in the week and he was like, hey, did you hear about this app? And it's something that I had heard mentioned, but I really didn't have the time to put any time into researching about it. But when he brought it up again, I was like, you know what, I do remember hearing that announcement, but it came around the same time of this week's update with some Sony cameras. So that's why I kind of bundle both things together. So Sony this week released a 5.0 update that affected some cameras negatively. Now, this is almost like the second update in a row that Sony has had something like that. I believe the first one was the A7S3, where I seen a video of a content creator, a YouTuber, who actually was having some issues when it got to a certain mode and the camera would kind of reboot or kind of cycle and then just kind of shut itself off and restart itself. So me knowing that, I was a little hesitant You understand, on this new update with the 5.0 for the FX30. And fortunately for me, there was no negative effects in this 5.0 rollout for the FX30, but I do believe that the Sony A7R5 was affected somewhat negatively. So, for all the people who are constantly asking for updates for their cameras and things like that, it's not as easy as it seems, right? Because there's so many different use case scenarios, and this is one thing that I kind of like really enjoy right now, using Mac computers versus like the Windows machines from the back, because effectively, whether you have different forms of power or production that you can get from your Apple machine, the way the operating system is, built and designed, it kind of sees all the computers the same way, just like different amounts of power, almost like you're using the same vehicle, but just different amounts of horsepower. And that's why it's able to be simplified, and the operating systems tend to be like very rock solid and very functional. When an update comes out for an Apple product, it's usually on point, and it's not like that they always get it right. There's always some like tweaks and things that then need to be addressed, but for the most part, the updates, especially for the operating systems, tend to be like pretty much straight down the line. Now, there are so many different components to Windows computers, whether it's different manufacturers of motherboards, different types of processors, different brands of memory / RAM, memory / hard drive. There's so many different variations, and then we're loading an operating system that has to make all of that magically work together. So these machines tend to have a lot more updates, and not all the updates tend to work perfectly. So going back to it, for all the people who are constantly complaining like, oh, it's been so many years and the update, I haven't had an update for my camera, it's easier said than done. And that's why I would much rather have a camera that is working than relying on an update that might give it some problems. So just FYI, I'm the type of person who doesn't update right away, and that's why I avoid a lot of problems. Now, it depends on the things that you have that you can kind of be a little bit risky with. So to give you an example, my Mac Studio machine, which is what I rely on to do all of my video editing, to do all of my video production work, do my live streams, do everything like that, pretty much in a nutshell. Actually, let me go to this screen. Pretty much in a nutshell, like, I'm not gonna put this one at risk, because this is kind of like the workhorse, what gets all the jobs done. Thus, at the same time, if there's something that's a little bit beta that couldn't be completely polished out but I want to try on, I do have the Mac Mini sitting right off to the left that allows me to dabble in that just a little bit. On top, that I also have a MacBook Air that also kind of falls into the same category, which allows me to play around to my heart's content if I want to, without risking my work production. Because if any of these updates were to happen, for example, I use Final Cut Pro, and recently one of the updates was giving some issues and crashing systems just the same. And it was like, oh, the 8.0 update, and then quickly within a couple of days, the 8.0.1 or whatever came out and basically fixed it. I think it was just 8.1. So 8.1 came out, and that was the update, and now all the wrinkles were were ironed out. Yeah, so all the creases and all the wrinkles were ironed out with the 8.1 update. And with that 8.1 update, it just like it cost some of the creators or some people who have production houses that use this program 2 or 3 days of not being able to work or not being able to bill. That cost them a lot of money. For me, like, it wouldn't have been so drastic if I'm without my main machine for a couple of days. But at the same time, I don't even risk it, because I wait for all those wrinkles to be kind of ironed out, and then I find out after the fact. And after a week is when I decide, okay, you know what? It seems like, the waters have calmed now. So now is when I'll do my updates, and I avoid a lot of the issues, because I don't particularly need to be first when it comes to a lot of these things, right? Like, I guess that's just the way that I see it. So, fortunately for me, the update that we just had, the 5.0, did not affect my FX30 and just gave it a big power boost. And when we were talking about this, Mr. Jeremy also mentioned to me about the monitor and control app, which I was able to install, and he had mentioned to me that he had put it on an iPad, because this is the control app that now gives you kind of like it's multi-camera control. So you can actually put multiple cameras, I believe up to 4, right, synchronized onto this application on your iPad, and have like a multi-camera shoot, hit record, and it synchronizes on all machines, time codes. It does all of this. So we're gonna get a little bit into that, because that's the application. And how you had mentioned is like, hey, I'm thinking that you might want to put it on an iPad to help out with your FX30. So when I started looking into it, I was like, how would I really apply it? And maybe should I pick up, like an iPad or an iPad mini to run this application as like a remote monitor? But I'm also in the process of kitting out my FX30. So I'm going to bring it over here and go to my overhead shot. Okay, what happened to the camera? Oh no, it's saying the battery is exhausted. Okay. That was my bad. I thought I had given it enough time to charge, but guess what? I have another charged battery. So what I'm gonna do is just swap that out real quick and get this going. Because today's live stream is like based on the overhead shot. All right. You know what? Put that right in the charger there. Come on, battery. And that's what they say, live happens. Another thing I'm gonna do is come over here and turn on the air conditioning, because it's starting to get warm in here. Let's tighten that down. That wasn't tight. There we go. I'm gonna plug you in. Connect. Turn it on. Okay, we got a full battery there. Perfect. Thank you all for your patience. All right, so let me go back. Come on. Are we registering the camera? There we go. Okay. It's not recognizing it. Are we getting an image? All right, we got the image. Now, back to what I was saying. Back to the overhead shot. What I'm in the process of is kitting out my FX30 camera and getting it ready for Creator Camp. You know what? Let's get rid of this keyboard that's not necessary right now. Just taking up some extra space. There we go. All right, so right now this is how I've started to kit out my FX30. Now, just to give you a bit of information, because I think I'm gonna make a video detailing exactly what I've done, but I've basically taken the FX30 and connected a pretty large cheese plate at the bottom that has allowed me to put these mounts for these 15-inch carbon fiber rods. Now, as soon as I put them in, I decided that this was going to be basically the base of my camera rig. So I also made some felt pad like feet and just kind of double-sided taped them onto there so that if I were to place this down anywhere, it wouldn't scratch the bottom of it. But then at the same time, I wouldn't scratch like the tabletops or a desk or anything where I might, place my camera rig for the moment. So that was the first step. The second step was actually giving it some juice, giving it some power. So I set it up on this cage and put the rods in, and the next thing I did was actually set up through here and just put a metal plate that runs vertically, as you can see, right along the backside. Now I'm able to squeeze everything as close as possible to the body on this rig, which allowed me to take, like the battery, the dummy battery, and take all the extra cable and just kind of squeeze it in between there so that I can just allow it to detap directly to the battery, which is a newer like smart battery. I actually purchased a like V-mount rig that had like all the accessories so that we could tap into like that connection, but it was so big that it ended up making my camera rig a lot bigger than I wanted and very unbalanced. So I ditched that idea and then just basically got a V-mount adapter, a small rig adapter, so that that's just gonna hold the battery in place. See, so you can see a little bit more of actually what's going on, right? I also got this small rig little hand grip, placed it there. That's more because once I started realizing the weight that I was gonna be dealing with, I didn't want to risk this camera just slipping off. So making it more like an actual camcorder, I got one of these little grips to allow me to really get a good grip on my camera. Now, of course, you see the lens, but interchangeable lens, so I have the ability to change it. The next thing was the follow focus that I got. Small rig follow focus. I got it with a rubber wheel that allows me to use the follow focus on a variety of different lenses without having to use like the planetary gears, right? Did I say that right? Planetary gears, something like that. That's what this kind of looks like, right? See that these have these teeth on them, and you put them so that it will allow you to mount this onto a follow focus system. Now, the teeth are underneath, right? So that if I do have a lens like that, I still have the ability to utilize the teeth. Let me show you. So it's like the best of both worlds. All I would do is just remove this rubber ring around it, and those teeth are now visible, as you can see. So it's like a really nice setup. I have it locked up, and then at the same time, I have the ability to kind of use it as a handle, because I was looking into getting like one of these what do they call the RE locating pin mount, and put it here on the side as a handle. But what I found out was that depending on the size of the lens that I attached to the setup was going to depend on how far or close this follow focus system was going to be to the side of this camera. So if I were to put a handle here and I needed to bring this back, I would then have to remove the handle, making it useless. So with this locking feature, right, it allows me to kind of lock it down as well. Hold on, let me press it there and lock it underneath. And now it's tight enough where it holds the weight of the entire rig. So now that also becomes my second like mounting point or holding point, so that it gives me the ability to utilize it while I'm recording, but at the same time gives me the ability to hold it much, much better. So now, because I don't need a mounting system and the battery is giving it juice directly, instead of using like the actual like V-mount connection, I'm able to just now mount this battery here. And the last thing that I did is that the same felt material that I put as the feet. I made a little block here so that the lens could actually rest on it, and if I wanted to flip it, it won't scratch the other side as well. So it gives it protection and allows me to kind of streamline this entire setup. Now with this, I just simply connect to the D tap, bam, and we have this setup here. So as this is my FX30, I was thinking, how am I going to continue to build upon this and make this the all-in-one rig? Because my idea is to actually only have this one camera and try as least as possible to, if maybe not at all, have to change lenses and be able to use one setup that allows me to just record indefinitely. And from my preliminary test, this battery will allow this setup with monitors and things like that to run for over 23 hours, close to 24 hours before it dies out with this setup like this, meaning that it will give me an all-day ability to record all day, and also just be able to power it up at night to be ready for the next day. I'm super surprised on how fast this battery actually charges itself. At 60 watts, it charges basically 1% per minute. So to get to 100%, roughly about 100 minutes to get this battery from 0 to 100. Very impressed with that. So the next thing that I did was wanted to, spruce up my top handle. So the top handle for the FX30 goes like so. So I made sure to connect my microphone, but I also added this left photo metal mount onto it. It bolts directly onto it, giving me a whole mess of mounting points on all the sides. It extends the grip a little bit more. There's even a bolt into the back right there. That's a good way of showing it, right? So that this isn't gonna kind of fold up, and it gives it good leverage on this mount or on this handle. So now that is what's really unlocking a lot of things. And this is also one of these oh my god, I'm running a blank on the name right now. It's a maybe somebody in chat will put it on there because I forgot the name of this type of rail. It's a rail, but it's a particular size. This size right here is the same as like what's built into the sides of this. It's an, oh my god, I'm running such a brain fart, but I'll move on. So that was the idea for this setup, right? This is exactly what I had going, and this is the point where I spoke to Jeremy, right? And he was like, hey, did you check out the Creator app? Because my next step on this was actually, how am I going to mount a monitor onto this, and what monitor am I going to get? So there was a couple of ideas that, I had to cross off. One of them being is that right over here, and if I show you my behind the scenes, this is a monitor for a camera. So what I'm using as my teleprompter is a monitor for that, and that's what I've been using to test out a 7-inch monitor to see if that would work perfectly. But for me personally, it's just a bit too big. So I was like, 7 inches, even though I have one there, I'm gonna dedicate this as a computer monitor and not a camera monitor, because I'm really not liking the size of the ratio in size. The monitor is great, but it's just a bit big for my kind of condensed setup. So I'm looking into 5-inch monitors, which I still think I'm gonna pull the trigger. But when Jeremy actually enlightened me about this app and I started playing with it, I obviously don't have an iPad. So the first thing I did was install it on my iPhone, right? And then I started gaining control over the camera with my iPhone, and that's when things really took a turn. So let me go ahead and just turn this camera on, right? Right, and I'm just gonna set it off to the side here. And where's my phone? There we go. Go back to my overhead. Boom. And now I'm just gonna open up my phone and go to this little application right there, Monitor and Control from Sony. Now, as soon as I open it up, you do have to do the pairing and the setting up, but as you can see, it already recognizes that my FX30 is powered on and is asking me to connect. So as soon as I was able to connect to the camera and then started saying like, okay, let's see what's available, well, I'm gonna show you exactly what I saw, right? And I was very, very surprised with not only the functionality, but the accessibility. So let me go ahead. Right now we're seeing what the FX30 is looking at. So if I put my hand in front of that lens, you can see that there is a bit of latency, but something that you can work with, right? And this is connected wirelessly. So right now, as part of my camera rig, I have complete remote control, right, away from the camera. But what I was thinking was that I'm looking for an on-camera monitor. And that's where this really does impress me, because I have the ability to change everything right from the application. Like, that is just bonkers. So I mean, like white balance, we have the ability to change it on the spot. So if I wanted to change the color tone, it's as simple as that. I want to change the S7 LUT because the camera is recording in log footage. Yep, I have the ability to change it to the variety of different LUTs that are already pre-installed. I want to add zoom or active stabilization. Here we go. We have all the options to do so right there, and it's all touchscreen. So if I start looking into the market for touchscreen monitors that work directly with the FX30, that even has the ability to press remote or record, and now you can see the red ring is around because it's actually recording this footage, and it's all done wirelessly. So it's really impressive. Like I said, it's not the one-to-one like the fastest readout. It actually even tells you that sometimes it's dropping to like 16 frames per second on this corner right over here, but it's very fine text. And but it's still letting me know that like right now it's connected like at 22 frames per second, 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, so on and so on, right? So depending on the exact connection, the latency is there, but not enough to the point where it's not functional. So now, let's say you have everything set up exactly the way you want. You can just press the lock on the box on the upper right hand corner, and now it just lost all the functionality of touch and is just there as a reference monitor, which is impressive nonetheless. And like I said, this is the same application that gives you the ability to connect multiple cameras. So if you were a director and you had a multi-camera shoot, multi-camera live stream, multi-camera podcast, this would be just phenomenal, with the fact that you'd be able to hit record on all your cameras and actually just like switch through them so that you can monitor at your heart's content. But we unlock it there so that we can continue to see that we have, like I said, complete control. One of the new features of the update 5.0 is that the FX30 now has shutter angle, right? So instead of having to do shutter speed, this is just so amazing because it's always going to keep you at the 180-degree angle, which is if I decide to go to 60 frames per second, it will automatically double that frame rate amount, and it won't go particularly to the 125, which is what we had access to before. It will literally do 120 frames to double the 60, which is phenomenal. So if I were to change it to 24 frames per second, it will do the same, doing the 180 and doubling that amount to giving you a 48 frames per second readout while you're recording a 24 frame second file. So it just works phenomenal. Once again, if I was doing the log and I wanted to change what type of settings I have there, the ISO at 2500 in Cine EI. If I want to change the f-stop, right? If I say, you know what, I'm not getting enough, as you can see, like I could change it to f4 to get more depth of field, but we lose aperture, so we lose light. But if I wanted to open it up to even brighten it up, we can go all the way to 1.4. and just click on, and we'll just continue. Hit back. We have access to do everything. Change manual focus, autofocus. Oh, and I kind of gave it away. I was trying to not do it, but the key features that you also even have the ability to do the touch tracking. So for those of you who don't know, the FX30 is such an amazing camera that it has the ability to just hit the screen on it and press something, and the focus will automatically go there and lock onto it, allowing you to just move the camera freehand, and it will keep that item locked until you decide to change it. But that's one feature that I know that I cannot find on any other remote monitor, right? The fact that you would be able to transfer the functionality of the built-in touchscreen LCD on your camera directly onto a remote device. So going back to it, right? Like I said, if I wanted to have this, like, that's my iPhone charger. We want to put that into focus, and now that's locked in, right? But now if I wanted to focus on something in the background, like that monitor that's sitting in the back, I will now click on it, and as you can see how it easily and simply racked focus, and I didn't even have to touch the camera. Like, this is, I would hands down say, to get a monitor feature like this for a cinema type camera would be thousands upon thousands of dollars to have touch control on your focus settings and have that locked. So what do I mean by locked, right? It means that if I were to move the camera, you can see that the tracking point is just gonna keep it locked in, because that's what we're focusing on, right? This is amazing. And now if you're someone who does self recordings, right, if you are a solopreneur on the content creation side, this is ideal, because now I can set up my FX30 pretty much anywhere, and instead of having to reference this small tiny little monitor and to see, I can put like a zoom lens on this, put it on a tripod, and get a much better shot, and make sure that I can reference myself and say, yeah, you know what, I'm in frame right now, I'm also in focus, let me tap on my face to lock my face in focus, and right from the phone hit record and just run with it. This is like super freaking, like, next level, game changing ease of use for solo content creators. And instead of you having to do anything extraordinary like purchase something else in addition, this is right in my phone. So once this hit my mind, I was like, man, what can I do with this? Because I'm not gonna like walk with my phone unless I use it as a monitor, which is where the next thing came in. Bam. So now we go back to this, right? And now I got my Ulanzi iPhone tripod mount, and this one is because it's full aluminum metal, and I get to like lock it down. So I have complete control. And then my monitor mount that I have built for this setup. So now I'm just gonna powers unite. I'm gonna throw this on here. Squeeze it on there. I can get it really tight, but just for demonstration purposes. So now I have this set up, and right on top here, see, these are the RE, let me give you a better view of it. See, this is the RE locking or locating pins mounts. It's for these types of setups. As you can see, it has the locating pins already on there, giving you the ability to put something on and not have it rotate at all, like a monitor. So I'll just throw that on there like so. And that's very close, but to give you kind of a side profile of what's going on, right? I'm able to throw that onto the top part because of this addition onto the handle. So now I'm gonna go to my behind the scenes shot, because I think it's giving you a better view of what's actually happening. I take my phone and lock it in. And not for nothing, that is kind of a sleek setup to be able to have such control and not add any additional wires, meaning this battery is powering up the camera and that is it. It's powering up the audio and everything like that, but this entire monitor control is now set up wirelessly. So it's very compelling. Like I said, I think I still want something there, but if I'm someone who's worried like, hey, you know what, it's only gonna kill the battery on my phone, well, I also have the ability to tap onto the battery through this USB-C and power the phone indefinitely. So I can do that the same way that I would do for a monitor, but now we have the entire setup. And like I said, this right here in my hand and having the ability to touch control and touch to focus right on a monitor, you tell me what you think. I think this is like next level out of the park. And one of the things that I was working on myself in particular with my setup, which I'm being very meticulous once again, is the balance. Yeah, it might be heavy, but if the balance is correct, then we should be good, right? Oh, just lost audio for myself. So right here, I'm just showing you that I'm just putting my thumb exactly in that spot, and we have pretty much 50-50 balance. One finger. No fronting. One finger setup. And also balance side to side. On one finger. And that's why I am absolutely enamored right now so far with how this setup has come out, as you can see. Giving you the under the nose perspective, right? It's insane. It's insane. And I gotta thank Jeremy because he, put me onto this application, and then my imagination just freaking went wild on this. And I wouldn't be surprised if I end up doing this. Like, there's no extra money that I need to do. I have this phone, but I was also in the market to purchase the new one that come out, right? The 16, and that's something that is in my like almost immediate future. So I can just start rocking the 16 and leave this one as my camera monitor and really give it a lot of functionality. Like I said, there is some latency to it, but as you can see, it's not the end of the world, and if I'm literally just using it as a reference monitor and wanted something just a little bit more real time, I still have the ability to flip this one to the side, which is exactly what's going on. But for the most part, I think I should be able to just rock this the way it is. And I'm gonna give you a little bit more of a demonstration of how well it's balanced. I'm already thinking about all the different types of shots that I'm gonna be taking or need to take for creator camp. So once again, like I was saying, well balanced, right? It's right there without having to do anything. But it also gives me the ability to get some really high shots, and because it's center balanced, I can get really high on those like above the crowd shots, and I'm not really worried that I'm gonna be like losing control over this rig, Aiden could be a great training, simulation for carrying around a 50-pound kettlebell, but it definitely has given me the ability to, utilize this rig in whichever way that I want. So as of right now, this is where I have it. There are still some final tweaks that I need to put on it, but I would love to hear what you guys think about this and this amazing freaking app, because it can run on older iOS systems. So if you actually happen to have an older iPhone that still works, but you're not using it as your main phone, it could definitely run this fairly easy, and it could just be the dedicated, monitor. So I do happen to have an older iPhone that I think might end up, taking this job, and I could easily throw a lightning cable on there so that it stays on there. Another cool feature about it, just to let you know, is that it still uses the motion or the gyro from the iPhone. So if I wanted to get, funny and actually go sideways, it still gives me a horizontal shot with all the information and all the touch features, even if the shot is 100% sideways. So it's really cool with the functionality that the iPhone would give you as a dedicated camera monitor. And with this application, I think it's actually taking it to the next level. So once again, thanks Jeremy for putting me on this. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it before we continue. Where are we on time? Okay, let me get I haven't been listening to music that entire time, so let's see what's going on. Get my wired headphones. All right. There we are. Let me see. Okay. Okay, this is where we are. Oh, Sammy asked this question before I got into it. He says, how am I liking the shutter angle on the FX30? Just love it. It was something that I wasn't expecting, because and here's another tip for anyone who's watching, if you buy a camera expecting it to come up with something else in the future, right? Something that it doesn't have, then you're just fooling yourself. Like if you're waiting for something because hypothetically you heard a rumor of an update or that it might get this, don't even do it, because it's just not worth it. There's so many features, and going back to like Apple products, like the iPhone is being sold with the Apple Intelligence, and if I am correct, I don't think it's going to be available as soon as I get my hands on the phone. That's still something that's on its way, but the hardware is already there to like cater to it. So I'm fine with that, just the same way as I am with the Vision Pro. Like I use it a lot more than most people that also own this system, right? I know that for a fact, but to each his own, right? So the value in something is dependent on how much you use it or get out of it. But this camera was absolutely amazing out of the box. I was very happy with the way it was, just because, and I'll be being full, upfront, because it had the variable shutter option, and I was already using it. So, that variable shutter option was giving me the ability to kind of give it the shutter angle that I wanted already. So when it would go to 125, I would be able to angle that down with the variable shutter down to 120, so that I can get the more on par like type of motion blur and correct angle for the shutter. I was doing it for all of my camera settings, so then when this came out, it just makes it a lot easier, where it doesn't matter to which camera mode I switch on to, it's already going to have that set up. So it's like amazing, and just loving that and all the extra features on it. Jeremy also says he's had no real issues with the update. One thing he noticed that yesterday's stream was some weird focus issues, but not sure if that was an update related or pilot error. He goes, probably the latter. POV Gamer, welcome. I think this might be the first time. It says, have you used the ZV-E10 Mark II? No, I have not, but that's actually probably going to be my next purchase. I think it's going to be just after Creator Camp, because of the way things are. I want to make sure. So once my funds are, taken care of, because that's another thing. My car rental is going to be almost double the price that it was for last year for Creator Camp. It's just, I don't know how the prices has spiked and just doubled for car rentals in a year's time, but it has. So because of those reasons, I haven't pulled the trigger on that and a couple of other things. I'm rigging this guy out before I do that, because I need this for the Creator Camp. So that's where I'm at, and I'm gonna be getting the ZV-E10. So if you hang around, if you subscribe, this is gonna be my future camera, and then I'll have the ability to answer whichever questions you have. says, what external monitor have I been using? It's a Fuel World. It's a 7-inch one, is the one that I have here for my display, so it's been pretty good. I bought the cheapest one from Amazon and it lasted me like less than a week, so I was like, okay, just don't get the cheapest one, because like I said, it was just an extra for the teleprompter. And then that's when I got my hands on this one. This was like the best one that I could find for the best price, you understand? But it still had all the appropriate features so that I wouldn't be dealing with another piece of junk product. And this one's been working out fine. I leave it on basically all the time. It's a computer monitor, and that's what I've used to test out the FX30, just to see exactly how I like it. So that was the one that I have been using. The one that I'm interested in, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm interested in it. It's a pretty good deal. It's like $215 or $220 for a Desk View, which is actually the same brand as my like teleprompter top. So to go into that shot over here, no, this one, this piece right here, this part of the teleprompter is exactly that brand, Desk View, right? So it's a Desk View, I think it's the R6 monitor, and that Desk View R6 monitor has 2800 nit brightness, which is like, yes, okay. So I believe the iPhones are running at like 1000 nits, which are pretty good for outside, but this is gonna be like an external monitor that was gonna be like super hella bright. And that's the whole thing. It also has touch functionalities, but only for the operating system of the monitor itself. It's not going to be the same control where I can touch to focus like I can with this iPhone camera and what the monitor and control app. So, you know, that's where the difference is. And I think this one's taking the lead, because like, if you know, you compare apples to apples, I'm like, man, you know, a used iPhone, right? Like, let's say I take my 11 Pro and I just use it to run that and have that set up on my camera for the time being. I think I'm gonna get better functionality out of it. So what I might end up doing is purchasing that Desk View, right? And just running them side by side, and to see which one I prefer to use. And if I'm better off because of the brightness and everything of that, you know, 2800 nit brightness monitor, then I'll just hold on to that and forget about the iPhone. Or I can then just say, you know what, I don't have to buy that monitor, save me about $220, and then use that to kind of fund my new iPhone, so that it'll be easier for me to use my 11 Pro Max as a dedicated monitor for my camera setup. So there's options, there's some things that I have to decide, but when it comes to minimalistic, right, and trying to carry as least as possible, the iPhone is seeming to take the lead, because I would still need to run power and HDMI to the other external monitor. Marine X in the house. What's up, brother? No, that's not the correct one. Where is it? There we go. What's up, bro? How are you doing here? Says, I've been liking the update with the FX30 and the FX3. I can monitor 3 cameras at the same time with the multicam monitor. You see, this guy already has experience doing it. Also, with the new update, I did an unlisted live stream directly from the camera. I just heard about this. It was I forgot the content creator. He's here local. He's local from like South Florida, but I digress. Reach Films. Reach Films is his YouTube channel. So yes, he made a video and he was talking exactly about that. Because the camera shoots in log, for those of you who don't know, that log is like a gray flat profile, and it gives you the ability to like hypothetically throw a LUT on top of it so that we can see what a LUT looks like. But if you're actually recording, it's recording log. It's not recording the like overlay that we have so that it can look pretty to us. So because he had it that way, he live streamed in log. Even though his camera, he can see the LUT, it's not transmitting the LUT, but he then mentioned, hey, I'm doing this directly from the camera. He like put his information on an application in the phone, the creator app, I believe. And then after he put the information, he was able to like just go live directly from the camera. And the crazy part about this is that he was using his iPhone as the hotspot so that the camera could connect to the internet. So now think about that. If that's also correct and we can get that going, throwing an iPhone as a monitor might just seem ideal, because you might be able to then go live, right? Listen to what I'm saying. And this is all hypothetical, but just see where my mind's going, right? You might be able to go live from the camera using the phone's internet at the same time the phone is capturing the monitor data so that you can use it as a monitor. So if I were to just turn on the wireless hotspot on this camera or on this phone, right, and then connect the camera to the phone's hotspot, I will then be able to use the camera to go live, and then this would be an entire wireless live stream setup. Like, could you imagine going everywhere with an FX30 or an FX3 and just this is live streaming wirelessly, like on the street, like, hey, we're live. Yeah, we're live to YouTube. We're live to the world. That's craziness. That's craziness. But that's exactly where technology is taking us. Sony has definitely been dabbling in that, especially with their Xperia phones. So don't be surprised if that's something that's just right around the corner. JP in the house saying, howdy, running late, been sanding hardwood floors all day. Let me know where you're at, brother. Are you already on the other side of the pond? You know, are you sanding hardwood floors in Italy, or are you still on this side of the Atlantic? Jeremy says, monitor and control has matured nicely and quickly. Yes, it has. Says, can't wait till they have touch white balance. What do you mean? Well, maybe you could be meaning something else. You can definitely change the white balance with the touch on it. So maybe you're thinking about something else. Gretchen says, holy moly, that's impressive. It is what they've been able to do, and technology in general, right? Technology in general is pretty damn impressive right now. Says, dude, I rock the iPad mini mounted to a gimbal with the FX30. It's so cool. God, the mini is just, it's got to be such an extensive, like massive screen. You must be seeing like the eyelashes on a fly. So Marine X says, I just bought the 21.5 inch Lilliput live stream monitor with the quad view. Ooh, I gotta check that one out. But that's more for like your like studio setup, I'm guessing, right? Like having a big monitor to just check yourself out. Oh, he says, no, still in Tennessee working on the son's house. Okay, cool. All right, so now, right, with that being said, the last thing about this setup that I'm thinking about changing, the last thing is my beloved lens. So right now I'm rocking the 16mm Sigma, and I love it on this setup. It's f1.4, so it's very good on low light. But if you're familiar with the FX3 or FX30 line, you also know that they deal with dual base ISO. And what that means is that you could actually increase the ISO or the brightness of your image. And once you reach a certain peak, it kind of resets, right? And that becomes the new base, meaning it's going to give you the cleanest, best image at that ISO. So the FX30 runs its base ISO at 800 and 2500. What we say ASA, right? But no, ISOs. And that is the sensitivity marks to get the cleanest. It doesn't mean that you can't go past it, but going past to like 3200 and even 6400 on the FX3 FX. Well, actually the FX3 has different bases, right? I think it's like 400 and 1200 or something like that, where they kind of change and clear up again. But on the 30 it's 800 and 2500. But like I said, if you were to increase it to like 3264, they're actually gonna get a bit noisier, but not as much as a traditional 6400 ISO would, compared to like my A6600. So for that, like, it really does help out in the low light, and an f2.8 could be more than enough low light capability with the increase of low light capability that the FX30 actually has. So what I have in my cart, and I'm close to pulling the trigger on, and I'm just still a bit undecided on, is a new lens. And I'm thinking it's the Tamron 17 to 70 APS-C f2.8 lens. Now, I've used the Tamron before, and a little bit of inside baseball information. Sony actually owns a big part of Tamron. That's why we call it like the baby G Master lenses, because you can get G Master lens quality images from Tamron lenses, especially their 25 to 70 or 28 to 75 f2.8 for the full frame. It's a phenomenal lens. So now this is kind of that same variant for the APS-C line. It's $700 lens, but it's a zoom lens, so it's going to cover a wide range. And going from a 16 to a 17, losing 1 millimeter, you understand, hypothetically, in width, I think is well worth it to have that flexibility of reaching out all the way to 70. And with the crop sensor multiplication, meaning that lens would effectively be acting like a 25.5 millimeter to 115 millimeter zoom range, all at f2.8. And that seems like a very viable option, kind of the same way. So adding that lens to this setup, right, will then give me the ability to utilize the amazing autofocus that this has, and the follow focus setup that I have there, I will actually be setting up as the zoom ring. So instead of following the focus, the knob on the side of my camera will actually be the zoom that I have to do, instead of having to worry about rocking it. So having full control over zoom, autofocus, and control of the camera body, all set up by changing one major thing is going with this Tamron lens. So that's where my mind is going. And I was thinking, like, it's been a long time that I haven't bought a lens, right, for my cameras. So I think it's been like 3 or 4 days, right, since I bought one. So I think that's long enough, right? I think that's long enough before I purchase another one. And if you're wondering, like, 4 days, I'm like, yep, that's the next thing. I'm gonna show you the last lens that I bought. This is a 35 millimeter Brighton Star f1.2 35 millimeter lens, full manual, full metal, for the Sony, listen to me, for the Nikon Z mount system. And why did I get this? Because I have this amazingly beautiful camera right here. Now, it came with a kit lens, a 16 to 50, but the variable aperture and everything like that, and the feels that I was getting from this camera were rivaling the feels that I get from my Fuji camera. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of similarities, and I kind of customized them that way. So my Fuji has this little, thumb rest, so that when I put it there, I have a place to rest. It's got my little, like, extra, like, hand grip onto it. And my kind of the lens that lives on this camera is a 35 millimeter per gear f1.6 manual lens. So with all the extra, like ADHD, like fidget spinner type of knobs on the top of this camera, it is also, I'm rocking it with a full manual lens. It it allows me or requires me at the same time to slow down my photography. So it gives me that old school, vintage film type of experience out of this camera, and which is why I absolutely love this Fuji camera. And I got my hands recently on the ZFC, yes. And the ZFC is giving me a lot of these same vibes. Now, it's lighter, it's newer, more megapixels, and better battery life. So the one thing that it did not have was this beautiful f1.6 lens that I got for my Fuji camera. So that's why I started looking around, and I couldn't find that same exact per gear for the Nikon, but I found what I think might be the same company, but I haven't done the research on it. So this is the Brighton Star 35mm. I've already opened it, but give you a bit of a unboxing feel. So this is the setup, right? I didn't even open the manuals, but it got a warranty card, right? And this is the lens. Now, it did come wrapped up in that paper, but just to save some time, this is exactly what we're looking at. As you can see, a lot of similarities. So there was another thing that this lens does not have that the other one does have, which is, put it off to the side here, this fancy little lens hood. So I picked up one just like it so that it wouldn't be without. And now this is my new Brighton Star 35mm f1.2. So yeah, you're saying not f1.6 but f1.2 because it's got bigger glass, bigger aperture, and even more light. And can I tell you, it has made such a huge difference in this camera. Now, if you've been here before, you know that I've said this before plenty of times. Glass before ass. Optics, like this lens, are way more important than the camera body. Now, I'm not taking anything away from this camera body, but as soon as I put some proper prime glass in front of this, it totally transformed this camera. As you can see, the way it looks right there, absolutely beautiful. It's got like a perfect blend of the silver with the black lens, full manual. Also gives me the ability to kind of just like hang the camera right there as I'm using it, and that's exactly where the focus ring is. I got the same thumb rest attached to it, and it came with the same little like extended grip. So this setup right here is just taken over, and I have barely used the Fuji when it comes to me taking photos of Aiden, which is usually what I use my Fuji for. So this has a variety of Aiden pictures already, but an f1.2 manual, all metal, like just old school. It's like a Leica style, like Voigtlander-ish style like lens for the whopping price of $75. So well worth its its weight in gold, so to speak, in money, and $75 worth of 1.2 awesomeness. And all the lenses or all the photos that I've already taken with this have just been like absolutely worth it. So I think this and that might be the only cameras that I take to creator camp, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is going to be just like my snapshot, and for some of you who already know the scavenger hunt video photography, I think that's what I'm going to be rocking this, and this is going to be for all the rest of the other events. So I'll be having this on my hip for the actual scavenger hunt. So I'll say, hey, look, I snapped the picture, take the video, and then this is gonna be for all the work purposes and everything else on the other side. So $75 lens, no brainer, right? Just like a no brainer deal on something that I could honestly tell you, these like off-brand lenses for these use case scenarios, just like this per gear that I got for the Fuji, they work phenomenal. I actually been loving them so much, especially for that style of photography. As you can see, they have all the similarities because they have the same father. Daddy Camera Junkie, as you can see, all the similarities, like all the feels, and I'm really enjoying the new ZFC, and it's replacing a lot of the work that I was putting onto this guy right over here. So I think the only thing missing is a lanyard. I need to get one on here, so we'll see how we do that. All right, I think we've done it. Oh man, we've passed the time. All right, let's see. That's exactly where we are. JV says 4 days, you slacker. I know, man. Says Sigma 50mm f1.4 is great, says JP. I know that one's great. I have the Sigma 30 at f1.4, but the only reason why I do not have the Sigma 56mm f1.4, because it's actually 56 on the APS-C line, is the fact that my favorite lens is a 55mm f1.8. So my Zeiss, that's exactly that, and roughly around the same size, I always end up just throwing that whenever I need that type of focal length. So that's the only reason why I haven't, gotten that. And the fact that I haven't gotten a really good deal that has been like a no-brainer, that I'll be like, I just can't pass up that, that 56 f4.4. Right, so that's basically just it. I've actually went looking for one the other day. I would say about a couple of weeks ago, just scrolling on this app that I used. Oh my God, I'm running a name. The OfferUp. You know me, I'm always on OfferUp. So just checking pictures, see, and I just put camera, very generic, to see what you can find out there as far as the best deals go. So I was ran across it, and they're still going for like over $400. They're still like at the 450, 475, and I'm like, yeah, I could, but it's not necessary, because for the 400, I would, you see, like I would say, instead of putting that would be $400 that I put towards this Tamron lens, right? So I'll put that towards the Tammy, and if I don't really need that other monitor, right, the 280 or what? Correction, the 2800 nit monitor doesn't float my boat, and I end up using an iPhone for it, then that's another $220 that I saved, and that more than covers the cost for that lens. So then it'll be just like, yeah, no brainer, pick it up, right? So I always try to make sure that I have the best use case scenario for it. And JP says that's a great price. It is a great price, and the cool thing about it is that you know what, I'm gonna put a link for it, because of the simple fact, let's close that out. I'm gonna get a link, and I'm gonna drop it in the chat, because that same lens, this same Brighton Star, it's the same exact lens and optics, right? This f1.2, and you can get it for basically whichever camera you want, because they just changed the metal mounts on the back. So if you're interested in a manual lens, right, this one I could recommend. I'm really enjoying the heck out of it, and you can basically find it for your camera mount. So let me go to my purchases, my orders. When did I get this lens? When did I get this lens? Maybe it wasn't even 4 days ago. Oh crap, no, it was 2 days ago. Well, no, that's not when I ordered it. That's when I received it. So it was 4 days from me ordering it. See? I know. But it is the Brighton Star 35mm. I got it for the Nikon Z, but you could just basically select your mount. So you can get it for the Fuji XF mount, for the Sony, and I believe the Canon RF. Very interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, amazing. Let me go ahead and just throw this into the chat. There's the... I usually always forget to put those things in chat and say like, yeah, I'll do it later, and then I don't. Oh, because I threw the keyboard over there, had to do that. Oh, we got someone else in here, Mark. Says Whitby, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Says question. For desk video, the lens is key. Webcams have no lens options. Is there a mix of lens and webcam body? Not that I'm aware of, to tell you the truth. Like a mixture of a webcam that has a lens, no. If you're looking to get the best quality image and something that has interchangeable lenses, I would definitely recommend something in that line. If you're not looking into lenses but want a higher quality camera that might have a built-in lens, you might want to look into the Sony ZV line. Now this is the 1F. It has a fixed 20mm lens, so that lens is built in and it doesn't move anywhere. It'll give you a better shot on the overhead, right? So this little camera is good, and the cool feature about it is that it has a USB-C, so you can just connect the USB-C cable right there, one cable to your computer, and it recognizes itself as a webcam. Now there's another model, which is the Sony ZV-1, and I believe there's a Mark II that's available right now, and the ZV-1 is got a zoom lens, a 18 to 50 if it's the Mark II, and a 24 to 70 if it's the Mark I. So depending on what zoom range you want to get into, but that's also around $700, and around for that same $700 price point in the Sony market, in the same ZV line, you'll find the ZV-E10, which is available for $700 right now, and the ZV-E10 Mark II also available for $1,000. If you really don't need all the bells and whistles, you might be able to get away with the ZV E10, just the Mark I, and it also has the same easy plug and play one cable webcam feature. That also has interchangeable lenses, which falls into the line of Sony APS-C. So it will be an interchangeable lens camera like so, giving you the ability to change different focal lengths to your heart's content. You know, you'd be able to go from a 16mm to a 35 to a 50, just like I was mentioning with who was I speaking to, with Jeremy about the Sigma lenses. So that's something that's available and could be done right there. So there's plenty of options, but that would be the scalability that you have as using a plug and play camera as a webcam. That gives you the ability to get the highest quality or interchangeable lenses. But webcams with interchangeable lenses by themselves, none that I'm aware of. Oh, Johnny's in the house saying, "What's up, fam?" Yes, we're well past the hour. Oh, thank you. Yep, that's my word. Amazon birthday wish list. There are some things on there, some things that I had, purchased for this guy, and as you can see, we're almost there. We're almost at 100% with the setup. But with that being said, it is time. We can hit this, then hit that for Cities Gone, channels that I think you should go and watch. And this week's Cities Got is not Amazon. No, that wasn't what we were supposed to be looking at. See, life happens. There we go. And this is what we're supposed to be seeing. There we go. Kofi Yaboa. So this is this week's Cities God channels that I think you should go and watch. Now, I was recently made aware of Kofi because he's also an FX30 content creator, but not really. I was made aware of him because he hangs out in the Brandon Washington live stream chat. I'm a moderator for that channel, and I'm always hanging out in the uncensored live stream that he has every Friday. He's already been part of Cities God. So that's how I was made aware of Mr. Kofi, and he's an amazing content creator. I believe he's north of the border as well. I believe he's in Canada. I could be wrong, but I digress. He's just another Sony cinema shooter content creator, and as you can see, like, just another member of the Camera Junkie alumni, right? From Lumix to Ari Panasonic, and you see hanging out here another member of Cities Gone, Mr. Terry Warfield, Tight Shirt Terry, TST. Batteries, small rigs. You see, like comparing lights, comparing just shot on iPhone. Camera rigs for the FX3, FX30, right in the same ballpark. So if you haven't heard of this individual, this content creator, let me be the first one to introduce you to Mr. Kofi Yaboa, or as I like to say, yeah boy. But I digress. Kofi's an amazing content creator, and he's this week's Cities Gone. Let me get over here to finish it up right. This week's Cities Gone, channels that I think you should go and watch. And boom, guys, we did it. This was successful. Another successful episode of the Camera Junkie live stream. I like this song, but not to kind of finish the show. So let's go ahead and DJ MCJ. Okay, that's a bit chill, but you know what? That's much better. More upbeat. There we go, Oi. All right, so that's it. Let me go back into and go do the rewind. Guys, we did it. This was successful. This was episode 198 of the Camera Junkie live stream. And if you're wondering, like, what does that mean? That means that this was the 198th consecutive week of the Camera Junkie live stream every Saturday night without skipping a beat. So mark it down on your calendars, set it up for 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday night for the Camera Junkie live stream, so that you're reminded to come back and hang out here with me and the rest of the Camera Junkie crew. You guys rock. You guys make this the place that I want to be week in and week out, and I can't thank you enough for making this exactly what it is. An amazing community, an amazing run that we're going on. 198, we're very close to 200, which we're going to celebrate. And for those of you who are still hanging out here, please remember to hit the like button, because I always forget to say that. But a little bit of inside information, foreshadowing, I'm going to do my first giveaway of some merch on the live stream 200. So for those of you who heard that, just know you gotta subscribe so that you're aware of what's coming up in the near future. So this is 198. In a couple of weeks we will be doing the 200 episode celebration, or 200 consecutive weeks, guys, and then we're just 8 weeks away from 208. We will complete 4 consecutive years of the Camera Junkie live streaming. Like, once again, guys, all because of you and this amazing community that we've been able to establish here. So as always, I thank you all for taking the time and hanging out here with me. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces as we do it all over again, same time, same place, right here on the Camera Junkie YouTube channel. Everyone, till next week, talk to you.